law school student, a grad school student, and a JD to talk to me about affirmative consent legislation, campus sexual assault, and working within a prison abolitionist framework. They had a lot of things to say about this topic.
Culture change and getting people to think critically about, maybe not about rape culture, but maybe working towards that goal. Yeah, all of these norms that are so pervasive. And I think affirmative consent, if we were to normalize affirmative consent, it would move us in the direction of just revolutionizing the way we think about sex and gender relations in general.
In order to make things run more efficiently, if there weren't clear policies in place, then there would be a problem on both sides, coming from the top and from the bottom. So amongst the administration and faculty versus the students themselves. Everything would just kind of be on an ad hoc basis. It sets up a system in place so where legal liability is reduced.
I mean, I think it largely boils down to definitions. I'm very much interested in cultural change as well as social norm changing, that definitions are critical for how we address, because affirmative consent is basically looking at consent from a new context in terms of placing more burden on the perpetrator and the actions that the perpetrator commits. That's really, deviating from the traditional sort of no means no. They've kind of taken affirmative consent and translated into a sort of a yes means yes context.
So we talked about restorative justice, and I was thinking about this all day. That too requires a paradigm shift, right? So right now, our criminal justice system in general, our forms of punishment in America in general, are very individual based. So the way that the system sets it up is that one individual or a number of individuals go away for a certain crime, but we don't think about how society played a factor in the crime that they committed. So we don't think about like the vestiges of colonialism that push people into certain kinds of crime, or the rape culture that's pervasive in everything that pushes men in particular to commit sexual violence or even domestic violence.
I'm not too familiar with the prison abolitionist framework. It seems like it would be preventative.
In terms of necessary follow-up, really closely aligns with a lot of discussions that are related to the prison system and punitive measures versus more remedial methods. So when you talk about actions for a university context, a large part of our perspective is informed by, one, whether or not that person should continue to exist in the university community, which is definitely more related to a sanctioning punitive measure, whether they can continue their education here, whether they belong in the community based on the conduct. That some hint at suggesting that there are different measures that don't have to necessarily be sanctioned. There are educational initiatives that help with educating the community of what's an expected conduct and helping to allow readmittance depending on what the conduct is.
That's it. Go do something about it.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose.